electricmaze here, coming in with the Let's Look At of City of Brass. Now, I did record an episode of this just before, actually, but I had the volume levels wrong, essentially, so the game was just a tad too loud and you couldn't really hear me over it. So we'll be jumping in anyway to recording a new video for it. So you got two starter characters, which seems like it's just male and female. The Fool, the Traveller, and then you've got a few others which start with different weapons. So she has a spear, he has a kunai knives, a fist, and a crossbow. But we're going to be starting off as the Fool here. And yeah, let's go for it. So, City of Brass is a first-person roguelite. You can see I've got a checkpoint here to jump into level 4. That's because I got there on one of my runs. But we're going to be starting from the start. Now, you always start off with a potion from the seams of things. These are the shops that you come across constantly throughout the game. So, yeah, these are things you can buy. That's really good. Flame of Sight. It's basically like the sword, but it hurts people over time. We don't have any money at the minute, though. So, yeah, we're just gonna open this up. One thing I do not like about the game is these traps. They're a nightmare. I always find myself getting hurt by them quite a bit. So, this potion that you're seeing here is what's freezing these enemies. Now, currency is just out of picking up the gold. So, gold is just golden items like this on the floor, which you can pick up. You can also pick them up from afar with your whip. So, the main draw of this game seems to be the fact that you have a whip and you can do things with it that you interact with stuff from afar. For example, you can pick up these throwing items from afar, and throw them at enemies. You can set up traps without having to be too close. Ooh, it's a shop, it's good. But, yeah, you want to keep collecting the golden items so you can keep buying better upgrades from the shop. Links of propulsion that throws enemies further. Needle of Tears I've never had. Let's give that a go. That's a new weapon, I assume. And just more damage, I would imagine. Nothing over there. Tell you what, there's gold there, is that? So you can use these to jump around, and it doesn't look like gold. There are traps all over, so these, and these, and I hate the traps in this game. There is an option to turn them down, but I'm not a huge fan. You can drag enemies forward and push them back and put them in traps. Which can be cool, but not really my cup of tea, all these traps. Because I just find myself taking damage so often. There's 3 ways in which you can interact with enemies with your whip that I've found. Push and drag as showed there. But the other 3 ways are, if you hit them in the head, you stun them. You can hit them in the arm, and they drop their weapon. If we can do that here. Or the feet, not into the floor. Ooh, good shot, but you missed. I've seen quite a few different enemy types, and there are bosses in the game as well in classic roguelike nature. So we'll just quickly peek this shop. Health, don't need it. I can hear the twinkling of some gold. Let's see if we can just quickly come into here and do a cheeky bit of looting. Just mash that attack button. Game's not too dangerous on the first floor. It does get pretty hard later, though. And you can get overwhelmed quite easily. I'm a bit wary of chests, because I opened one once and it just, like, spat poison all over us, so it's a bit cheap. But it's just in with the traps that you get, I guess. I can hear some tingling, which means there's some loot. There we go. See it, the bugger. Alright, yeah, traps. I'll tell you what, we will buy some health as well. It's a lot of money, but health's really hard to come by in this game, in my experience. It's the flame particles off the lantern that I'm getting confused by there. So we'll keep going. There's a time limit for each level. I don't actually know what happens if you get to the end of it. We'll see what this guy's got. Disable traps. Unnecessary. There are a few cool items that I've seen before. Mainly my favourite has been the extra reach on your whip. Oh, nearly got me. Alright, let's see what you've got. Summon companion. I've done that before. They stay around for a while, as you would expect. We want to pick up the pace. So let's see what we can do. Quick bit of looting. I didn't take it. We gotta hurry it up here. Again, don't know what happens if you do run out of time, but I'd rather not find out. So there is the arrow up the top of the screen, I'm sure you have noticed. Nice. So, time's not running out that quickly actually, but the arrow up the top just tells you where to go, obviously. We probably have enough time to have a look through here. This is just the shop from before. Alrighty. Now for the whip, you just right click to do that normal hit. And it's pretty good for transport. As you can see there, you can get around quite quickly with it. Forbidden markets. Many flaws to this, so every 3 levels you get hit up with a boss. And then a final boss of sorts. I've seen one boss fight so far, and it was pretty fun. It was like a Zelda-like boss fight. She fired orbs at me, and then you had to whip them to hit them back to her. The gauntlet of thrusting, pads of silence, and the thong of vines. We'll have the thong, thank you. What does that do? A devious magic summons tangling creepers to slow your enemy's approach. I assume this is like when you whip people, they get slowed. Let's see. If you whip them in the eyes, it's a pretty hardcore way to slow them. I can hear a duck. There you go. Just freaky little things. These are really helpful. If you see that there's too many enemies in a place, you can throw this in, and it all the enemies get distracted by it. We'll just see what this potion is. Okay, so now we are a chicken. Let's wait for this one to run out. Enjoyable game so far, though. Except that guy right there. He's a friggin' nightmare. He killed my first run. He deals a lot of damage to you throughout. So we'll see if we can go around this way. We might as well take the chicken. Ooh, and the loot as well. And there might be a way around here, so we'll just keep going. Oh! You gotta really watch out for those traps. They can catch you quite quick as well. Seems like the arrow changed ways they can go as well. Oop, that's the trap. Throw the chicken in. Should all get distracted. Run in with a few cheeky hits. This weapon's pretty good. I've had another weapon before and it wasn't the best. It was like a slower but does more damage. This seems to hit quick and do about as much damage as the normal whip. So we'll just pick up these. Get that lob. Enemy types, they do vary as you get further into the game. Hoping to show some of them off. For this video, I'm just planning on doing one run. This game's been out for a while. I got it for free when it was available for free on the Epic Store. So I just downloaded it through that. But yeah, it's a game I'd recommend giving it a go if you've got a few hours to waste, you know. It's a good bit of fun. Whoa. You too, buddy. Just pull him forward. Can you pull people into the pits? Yeah. Alright, cool. And pick them up. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure what happens when you run out of time. I would like to find out, but I'm gonna sacrifice a run. I'm not sure if it's instant death or if it'll send some really bad dudes after you or whatever. The movement system in the game is a bit clunky to start out with. There's no getting around it really. it's just uncomfortable to use. I found it's pretty easy to save up a lot of money, and then you can buy overpowered items quite easily. But then, your death only really comes. Give that a go. Horn of Warning. Your death only really comes when you get overwhelmed. Always know where your nearest enemies stand. Alright, so we've got this little indicators where the enemies are. That's handy. That's real good. So we'll follow the arrow here. Open this up. Drag you in. Ooh, you did it. Nice. Quick jump over that. 1,600 going into floor 3. So this is the floor with the boss. Quite happy with how this run's going, actually. Much better than the last recording. So we'll keep going here. The UI on the game, in my opinion, it looks pretty cheap. It doesn't look the best. Yeah, it's oh yeah, you got me, game, you got me. But yeah, it doesn't look beautiful. It's nothing too extravagant. The actual systems are quite good. The art is pretty nice. It's not an ugly game by any means, except for the UI. Control system at the start is clunky, as mentioned, but it does get easier the more you play and get used to it. Set this off, jump around. Go down here. So every floor seems to introduce new traps as well. So it's a case of getting used to them. I mean, the first time I played this, I just got absolutely destroyed. This is the same boss I took on earlier. So we've all played Zelda before, where you gotta like hit back what he's throwing to you, and then when the defense goes, you gotta come in and attack quickly. So I believe we need to hit them 2 more times. Hit them in the head to kind of stun them, that's the word. And it's not a hard boss fight. In fact, it's fairly easy, to be honest. He said. But let's see how much money we get from all this. There's a couple of hundred, but it unlocks the levels so we can keep going through the floors. So yeah, that's the boss arena. It's the only boss I've seen. But yeah, it's an okay boss fight. It definitely gets much harder later on. Only really when you get overwhelmed does it become truly difficult. So if you go through it slowly and you know what's coming, it's not too bad. What does this one do? Sap of the Salatar. Does that just mean I've got loads of these? Yeah, okay. I assume they're called Salatars. Go, go, go. Get wrecked. Alright, so there's quite a few enemies through here, so we'll take this lantern with us. Ooh, bit of loot. Don't mind if I do. This game's quite old. I was checking, I think it's like over a year since other people have been playing it. I thought it had only came out quite recently. I must have missed its release on Steam and only seen it when it came out on the Epic Games Store. And I don't have any preference when it comes to playing games on the Epic Games Store. I know some people are like upset with because they've got a lot of games on Steam, which makes sense, you know. If you've got a lot on Steam, then yeah, you just keep using Steam. But if games are cheaper on is that loot that we can't get? But if games are cheaper on Epic Games Store, I don't mind diversifying my game portfolio, for lack of a better word. This guy is a nightmare. He just throws fire at you, and you can't really dodge it unless when you wish, when you run through his cauldron and press E, and he turns onto your side. And I don't think I've found a way to not take damage from him. It's a bit trash, that one, but. Ooh. So yeah, we're really low on health. It would be lovely to get some HP. Yeah, I don't want to disable any traps. Just I don't think it's worth the money. especially say we can see where enemies are if they're close by. It doesn't show us where traps are, but traps are pretty easy to tell if you keep your wits about you. I'm destined to die from a trap in the next minute now that I've said all that, but such is life. I'm so paranoid. Alright, this is a gamble. I'll spend 300 for a gamble. Lash of Reach. This is my favourite one. So this is what I was talking about earlier. How you get a really long whip. So, for example, see if we can find something from far away. There's a dude down here. Alright, we'll just take care of these guys. Into the trap. There you go. Yeah, thanks, bud. So, woo! Oh, it's just a crown. Oh, that gave us a bit of a fright. Oh, you nearly got us. Can you make it? We made it. So we can now whip stuff from really far away, which is pretty handy. Just whipping people in the eyes. I think she's dead. No, she's not dead. Again. There you go. Nah, she got away. Fair enough. So yeah, there you go. There's a cool. We unlocked a new player. So she plays a bit differently. Instead of starting with a sword, she starts with a spear. And got some grip boots. So that'll be the only run we'll play. It's pretty fun to jump into and have a little run around in. UI pretty clunky. Yeah, these are the things that you can unlock. So it does seem like there's a lot to unlock. Cloak of Obscurity, Fist of Daggers. These are all stuff that I've had during runs. Enemies, for example, the Warrior Archer. We didn't get too deep, but it does look to keep going if you got into it. Different types of genies. Wow, that's quite a lot. I didn't notice I'd seen that many. This guy's the nightmare one, the one that just hurts you, and then this mustn't be the right one. That must be this guy, the hurler. So he's killed me 1 time and done 8 damage. This is 8 hearts. Let's again, how many potions are there? Because it does seem to be quite. Yeah, we've seen quite a lot of them. Or at least I've seen quite a lot of them. And the options here for the game. First thing I did, I came in and I turned the field of view up just like to max. Because I hate it when games give you a tiny field of view. But yeah, so now we have the shoes that we can come in with. This is the new character. Able to stab their spear forward or throw it. Press and hold left mouse button to ready a spear to throw. And release it to throw. And then left click again or R to magically recall. So yeah, a bit of a different way to play, and as mentioned earlier, there are quite a few characters. So I could see myself getting into this if I had a bit of spare time going, just to jump and play around in. It is pretty fun. It does take a bit of getting used to, and it's quite difficult. But every roguelite is difficult when you first get into it. After 3 hours or so, it becomes much easier, and you're in the flow of the game. But there's not too many items compared to your average roguelike. But it's fun to mess around in, and it's a first-person perspective. The combat's pretty fluent, and I think you could really get a hold of it once you get past the initial clunky controls. Just ignore the UI. But yeah, overall, I'd say if you can get it for about maybe $10, if you see it for sale, about £8 on the Steam store or Epic Games, then yeah, I'd say pick it up. It's probably worth it, just for a good 5-hour play. If you're bored one evening, you need something to just waste some time in. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.